Hello YouTube, this is William. Hope you guys can see this. I'm serious, I got the whiteboard out. First of all, let me say I am not an artist. I can't draw very well. I can't write very well. But anyway, hopefully I can get my view and my experience across. Now, I'm gonna say this caveat right up front, okay? As with 99% of all, I'm sorry to shake the table, of all videos on YouTube, there is going to be opinions in this video. I am not a scientist. This is not a lab, but I have a lot of experience in what I'm about to talk about, okay? So I invite you to listen, open your mind, and think about these things and experience them for yourself, okay? So, first of all, let's talk about proper tools. Now, is this going to be cut in stone? I mean, every rule is meant to be broken. I'm not going to say that this is 100% every time, all the time, okay? I'm going to say that this is the norm or the average. So, anyway. When you're talking about splitting wood, most of the time people refer to a froe, okay? Now let's look at this froe here, if I can get it in the camera. Has a convex edge, has a very thick piece of steel. This steel is about 1/4 inch thick, okay? And the reason for that is the thicker the steel is, the better it splits things apart, okay? The convex edge is a stronger edge because that's what axes have. All right. So if you get this little wilderness axe hatchet here from Hooks Brooks, I think it is. If I can get it out. See, it's got a convex edge. Okay. It's thick material, splits things apart. That's what it's designed to do. Now, will it do other things? Absolutely. Okay? But its primary function is to split things apart. All right? So, if you look at a tomahawk, this is a cold steel. Again, has a convex edge, very thin edge. It will split things apart, but it's not as good as a hatchet. Okay? So, these are things to look at when you decide that you want to get a tool to split things apart, like firewood, crafts, things like that. Then a very thin edge is not designed to split things apart, okay? It's designed to slice. So this cold steel tomahawk is better for slicing than it is for splitting, all right? Now here's a tomahawk that is a handmade tomahawk, and I'm not sure who did it. That's the logo, if anybody knows who it is. And I've had this for years. Not sure who made it. It's a little short handle, very light. If you guys, I got a little scale here. Weighs 14 ounces, so it's lighter than most knives, most belt knives. So, I mean, but look at how it's designed. Convex edge, very thick here, and it thins down. But it's very thick at the splitting part. It will split kindling very well, all right? It's light, goes in a pack. So if you want to take something camping and or hiking and you want something light, maybe this is a better option. It will slice your tomatoes as well as a knife will, all right? So tool selection, what is your primary function for that, for our need? So choose the tool accordingly. And again, you can probably find these on Amazon or whatever. You know, anything that is right here that's 3/16 or bigger or thicker, then, you know, it's going to split pretty well. Okay, now let's talk about knives. All right. When you're talking about the industry standard, okay, this is your plane, and this is your knife blade, and this is your edge, okay? I told you I wasn't a very good artist. Hope you guys can see that. All right, let's try this again. Okay, and then here's your knife edge. Okay, so here's your edge. This is a flat grind. All right, from this point to this point, that's what your cutting edge is. This angle right here is, most part, is 22 degrees. All right, so that means that your angle is like this. That is a very thick angle. So this part here is very thick. All right, so that means that this knife was designed to split things apart if it's a thick piece of steel. Now, if it's, I would say 5/16, or I'm sorry, not 5/32 or larger, then there's enough steel there to split things apart, or that's his intent, okay? So this knife was designed for you to do some batoning with, all right? Now, if you get a edge that, and again, I am not an artist, that this part here is 18 to 13 degrees, then it is less designed for splitting, it's more for slicing, okay? Like this tomahawk here. This is a very thin apex. This apex here is very thin, okay? This right here is very thin, all right? So what you're wanting to do is, this is designed for slicing. Now, geometry is, I say, the thicker the steel is, the higher up this angle is going to be, all right? So it's just geometry. Now, if you have a 1/4 inch piece of steel and you have a 13-degree angle, guess where that angle is going to come up? Where? Very high up on the blade, all right? So you you have to kind of take all of this into consideration. There's pros and cons with everything. Everything that you do, there is good points and bad points as far as crafts, tools, whatever it is. It's going to excel in some things and be very weak in other things, all right? So the proper tool for the right job, all right? Okay, another thing is, if you're going to be batoning a knife, then you're wanting to find a knife that has a very wide blade, all right? And a lot of my knives has different shapes to create different scenarios. See how it's wide here and it slopes up, okay? That means that there's some strength here, all right? It's candy here, so you have more material. The more steel that's left on the blade, the more strength it has, all right? So, if you have a knife that is cut way up in here and it slopes down, then there's not a whole lot of strength here. And in the video that I did called Batoning the Good, the Bad, the Ugly, I talk about harmonics and vibrations on that blade as it's being struck, that there is vibrations. It's like a tuning fork. And it's going to vibrate until it comes up against a 90-degree grind or something that's going to stop or change the harmonics of it. And a lot of times they will find a fissure or a crack, cause a crack in a very fine edge at that 90-degree grind or cross, okay? So this is the failure point on 99% of all knives, is this point here. I put a little choil there so that instead of a very fine edge that vibration is hitting, it is a little bit thicker steel, okay, on up. So in other words, let's see if I can draw this without. So if you have a handle here, and then you have your blade, okay? So basically you have harmonics coming on here. If you put a choil in here where you cut out, those harmonics stop, or it's less devastating to that blade on up here where the steel is thicker. Down here where the steel is very fine at the cutting edge, that's your weakest point. So if you don't have a choil there, then it's going to fracture right there. Now, it could have happened, it may not fail immediately, all right? It may take some time, but the longer you use this knife and beat on this knife, then that fissure or that crack is going to work its way through till it finds a failure point and the blade is going to break, all right? So you may have used this knife, that's a very bad design on a knife. You may have used this knife splitting a 3 or 4 or 2 inch piece of wood that you should have not selected 3 months ago, okay? And this fissure was caused at that point, all right? That's when the first fissure occurred. And then you may be splitting a piece of kindling, a piece of fat wood that's a 1/2 inch thick 3 months later, and the blade failed. But the failure occurred 3 months ago. It just took that long for the fissure to work itself through that blade, okay? So I hope that makes sense. And again, folks, I am not an artist, and I am not someone who should be drawing. I'm trying to get a point across, okay? And this may be the best way to do it, I don't know. But hopefully you understand what my experiences is telling you, all right? So this choil here makes the blade stronger. It doesn't make it bomb-proof, but it makes it stronger. So this blade is 5/32 thick. So if you want to baton this knife, then it will handle it up to a point. Now, if you want to create firewood, then I would suggest getting a ferrule or a hatchet, just for giggles. Let's see how much this hatchet weighs. All right, this is a Wilderness hatchet. And a lot of people are saying that they don't want to carry the weight. The weight's the reason they want to use a knife to baton firewood. And I have lived my life in East Texas all my life, just about. And we have eastern woodlands, and it rains a lot in East Texas for the most part. So the first time I have ever seen anybody split wood with a knife to create a fire, or to split wood, period, to create a fire, was on YouTube, okay? And I had built fires all my life, and I was an adult, probably in my 30s, before I saw anybody having to split a piece of wood to build a fire. Now, up in the Pacific Northwest, rainforest, and other areas, then perhaps that is needed. I don't know. I haven't lived up there. Don't have any experience up there. But how we did it was we got wood that was off of trees, and we always had tinder on our body, on our person. So, I mean, you get in your tinder bag and you create a fire, because fine twigs, if you crunch them up and bundle them up, they will dry very quickly with a flame, all right? So, anyway, it's all about firecraft, all right? So let's see how much this little hatchet weighs. I'd say 2 pounds, all right? 2 pounds. Is that a lot of weight? For a long distance hiker, yes it is. But perhaps you take tinder with you. Perhaps, and another thing is, people say, well, in parks there's not a lot of wood. But again, if you're going to baton a piece of wood, then, I mean, everything has to be square, it has to be sawn. So you have to take a little saw with you. I mean, so you're talking more tools, all right? So, you know, maybe we take one of those little Trangia stoves with you. Maybe that solves the problem. I don't know. But anyway, I'm getting off the subject. But so choose your tool wisely. Now, I'm gonna say a lot of the tools that you see on the market, they're gonna have this very obtuse angle here. Blade's gonna be 5/32, some sort of Scandi grind or a low saber grind with another little secondary grind there for the cutting edge. All right, so you're gonna have a lot of strength here. So basically, you know, you're going to get away with batoning if you do it properly, select the right woods, have a saw, cut it off square, so you're not trying to baton through a jagged part of it, and all of that good stuff. Then, you know, I would say get something from Walmart, a cheap knife, because if it does break, then who cares, you know? Because the more you beat on it, the higher that percentage goes up. Okay? So, choose your proper tool. If you're a backpacker, then maybe you want to take a, like I said, a cheap knife from Walmart, one of those big buoys to beat on to split wood. But then you're going to have a fine knife to do your kitchen prep and all this other stuff. So then you got two tools anyway. So, you know, I'm not a light backpacker, as you can tell. So I don't understand the, the thought process. All right. And some people say, well, a baton because I enjoy it. Okay. Well, get you a knife from Walmart or a cheap version of a knife and have it. All right. So if it does break or when it breaks, then you're not out of line. All right. So anyway, proper tool. I hope this was beneficial. I hope everybody understood this. But, you know, trying to sum things up is the angle of the bevel, this part here, the thickness, the curve. Matter of fact, a convex edge, the reason convex edges on axes is because they split. They're a more robust edge, because basically a convex is like this, so you have more strength right here. All right. Also, you have more thickness to split things apart. All right. So if you get a WC knife, all right, it's going to have a 13-degree angle. If you find that edge is too fine for what you want to do, then change the edge bevel. All right. So if you get a knife and that edge is 13 degrees, then change it to a 22. All right. Or change it to a 15. Change it to an 18. Make the knife to fit your needs, but it's not going to slice as well. It's not going to do a lot of the things that I designed the knife for. It's not going to whittle as well. It's not going to cut feathers as well. It's going to diminish the slicing ability of that knife. All right. But again, proper tool. All right. So, you know, when you buy a tool, you need to sit down and say, what do I want this tool to do? All right. And then figure out, does it have a convex edge? All right. Is this tool designed for splitting? Is this tool designed for slicing? Is this a kitchen prep tool? Is this a whittling tool? Is this, and you can all tell that by the design of the blade. All right. Does it have a very fine edge? If it has a very fine edge, then that edge is going to be more susceptible to vibrations, okay, than say a 22-degree edge. Vibrations on an axe, there's no 90-degree angle for it to go up against. Does that tool that you have or you're buying, does it have a choil there so that those vibrations doesn't have that 90 to go up against? Those are all questions you need to ask yourself while you're shopping for that tool. Now, me personally, I'm to the age now where I don't backpack that much. have never backpacked, to be honest. But so I always carry a little small hatchet with me, and because I enjoy carving for the most part, so I have a little carving axe or hatchet that I use quite a bit. And again, you know, you look, and that's a convex edge and very thick material. And so this is a Woodsman's Finest, and you just look them up on on YouTube. Hatchet, I think they're made in the Ukraine. Even with a war going on, it's amazing how businesses in Ukraine are still producing and thriving as always, you know. So I guess the war is isolated. I don't know, I'm not going to get into politics, but anyway, I mean, Beavercraft is another quality forge that's in Ukraine that produces some very good carving tools and little hatchets and things like that. And they're very reasonable price. So maybe that's another thing. And they have a little hatchet that probably weighs a pound or less. This is, I think it's 14 ounces. Yeah, 13.4, so right at 14 ounces. So when you start talking about knives, it's going to be capable of batoning long term. Now, I'm not going to say indefinite, because I think the more you use it, the more your percentages goes up, that knife's going to fail. So, but the ones that it's going to, longevity is going to be greater than, you want the thicker steel and a design that's real thick here with a choil so it doesn't hit that 90-degree angle. All right. So here's a field boss that's going to be released here in the next week or two. Again, you got a thick piece of steel here, a Scandi, so you have thick material, 3/16 blade, have a choil here so it doesn't, vibrations don't go up against a 90-degree grind. So it's more robust. It's going to last longer batoning. Okay, and another thing you have to look at is steel. All right, so steel is another factor. That 3V is a very durable, tough steel. So that's another thing you want to look at. You want a steel that's going to be some flexible to it. You want I lost my train of thought, but anyway, you want a steel that's very flexible. That because when you're batoning, that steel is going to flex. All right. The other thing is Rockwell hardness. My Rockwells are 60 plus. I think the Rockwell on this one is like 58 to 60 on 3V, which most of the times it's lower than that, is what the industry average is. And that's because I like those finer edges and I like the slicing ability. All right. So, I mean, there's a lot of things to consider when you're picking out a tool. You want to look at the design of it. You want to look at the type of steel it is. You want to look at the quality of the manufacturer. You want to look at the Rockwell hardness of it. If it's a very hard steel, then most likely it's not going to flex very well. All right. You want to look at the angle of the grind. Is it a 15-degree angle? Is it a 22-degree angle? Is it a 13-degree angle? So the thinner that angle is, on this part here, and this is just half of the blade, the thinner this angle is, then the more slicing ability it's going to have. All right. The thicker that edge is, 22, 15, 18, somewhere along in there, then the more strength it's going to have and the more splitting power it's going to have. All right. So I hope that's, you know, I kind of just did this off the seat of my pants, if you will. Just try to get across what I've probably said in other videos, but I haven't put it all into one video, and see if it doesn't help you guys choosing the right tool. All right. So anyway, like I said, I am not an advocate of batoning. I've said this in many videos, but again, I don't select tools for that. I don't buy knives that is more designed for batoning than slicing. All right, because if you have an angle where, and there's another video I've done on this explaining this, if it's a 22-degree angle, most of them are like this. So it drives the edge into the wood, so it doesn't slice very well as far as feathers and things like that. But if you get a 13 or 15 degree angle, then you have more control. You can lay that blade down and still have the very fine cutting edge contacting the material you're trying to slice. All right. So again, it's geometry, it's common sense. I know some people may have never even thought about this. All right. But anyway, I thought I'd pass on what I've learned in my lifetime of using knives. So anyway, I hope it helps. Until the next one, you guys get in the backyard, we're going to stick. Be sure to take a child with you, get the opportunity. And don't forget those plenty of mayonnaise and lots of knives. Catch you again soon.